beautiful listeners. Welcome to the Balcony Time Podcast. Today, it turns out, Russ watches The Watchmen. What is Big Wheat not telling you about leak powder? Cable formats, Universal Serial Bus, or ultrasonic Shane Beetles? You decide. P standing in Death Stranding. How many times can we say the word meta? Winnie the Pooh cracking the whip on gamers, and blue-collar dicks and their place in the penile workforce.
My name is Andy, and I like to microdose my Jeff Goldblum.
I am Russ, and it's true. I've returned to watching Dr. Blue Dong on Hobo.
This is Andrew, and I'm the one that turned the Mogwai on its head.
And this is Nick. Welcome to the Balcony Time Podcast.
Hey!
It's so hard not to make a noise during those first 5 seconds.
For only you, like anytime you're not here on the podcast, and in my head I'm thinking, man, that is so much easier to accomplish without you.
Are you guys all tense during that first 5 seconds when I'm here?
Yes.
Because I'm tense, trying not to say something.
I'm tense, trying not to make any sound, because just the movement of your tongue inside your mouth, these microphones pick up.
Yeah.
So you somebody does one of those, I've got to edit that out.
Yeah,
Think of it as if there
I
is
do.
some sonic elder
me too.
beast that demands silence as a gift, a ritual sacrifice. That if we
That's the
do
creature
not-
on my shoulder trying to tell me to make a sound. and I
Well,
have to
whatever
squish it
pact you've
down.
made was a poor choice.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Nicholas, now having worked at your job for a while, have you ever had the pleasure of listening to Barbara Rosenblatt read a book?
The name exists in my brain.
Okay.
I have over 500 narrators in my list.
That's
so.
Are you gonna put Barbara
I'm
on blast?
surprised. Oh yeah.
Okay.
100%.
All right.
I did it on Reddit. I was like,
Okay.
By far in the year I worked there, the worst narrator to come across, and it could have been coincidental that I was running into so many of her books, but there were a lot, and
You were being punished.
I think I was for probably not working as hard as I should have been. Has the worst mouth sounds, the most disgusting, slobbering mouth sounds.
So this
that
is
I've
more of
ever-
a technical problem. Like she might have too many teeth, or
Yeah, or she's constantly have half a pail's worth of saliva in her mouth. The visuals are horrific.
she needed a shunt, is what you're saying,
I
to
think
drain
a
excess.
constant dentist sucky tube in her mouth. That's something. It was gross. And considering we know how when they are processing the audiobooks, one of the things they're trying to eliminate and do is stuff like mouth sounds or
Yeah.
an accidental throat clear or anything like that, clean it up. How she still gets work as a narrator when she reads like that blows my fucking mind.
Eldritch Packs, probably made in a time long since past.
I think I built up my whole fake scenario about how she's like a former movie star actor that I'd never heard of from the era before I was born. So she had a lot of sway and people enjoy having her, she's like a celebrity narrator. There's only a thing that could possibly make sense.
Mouth sounds fucking drive me nuts. That's why I can't understand why I can't understand why people that listen to ASMR for the mouth sounds. That shit. It gives me the wrong tingles.
What's ASMR?
We already went over this. It's like ass sucking meridian reflex or something
Yes.
like that.
That's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
It-
It has
it
something
is-
to do with how fish have that line on their body that can detect electricity.
Yeah.
We've got that in our Ghibli bits, and it makes you go "Ugh," when you hear it. That's the best explanation I'm going to give.
It's supposed to be like a relaxing sound.
It's not even relaxing. It triggers a
I am so
autonomous-
not following this.
I'm making it hard
conversation.
on purpose.
Okay.
I've heard things both described that it's very relaxing, like the sound of a stream on constant, and then I've heard people talk about how it's the nails on a blackboard.
So we
sound.
have an autonomous reflex.
I think I know it's like
that
some
can be
sort of
triggered by
subconscious
certain
sound.
sounds. Some people
Okay.
get a tingling in their scalp. Others evacuate their bowels.
I think
don't
it's
know.
autonomous sensory meridian response.
The brown note.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. It's more like the
No, I
mauve-
think I know
the
what you're
mauve
talking
note.
about. Yeah.
Mauve seems.
So
calming enough.
I experience ASMR tingles is what they call it. Is like you get the sensation it doesn't
just your tinnitus.
maybe So have you ever gotten the down the spine tingles where you're like, that sounds or
those.
feels yeah.
I've never gotten that from sound.
Yeah, it's
but
always been a
from
physical
touch,
sensation.
right? Like a physical touch. You ever gotten that?
Probably.
Okay.
There's an
I have.
egg on your head and the yolk is running
precisely
down.
that kind of feeling.
Dude, I've got full body body tingles from many things just randomly.
Yeah, but if you can identify that trigger, that's an ASMR trigger.
Okay.
So one of mine is keyboard typing. Has to be the perfect keyboard. Has to be the perfect speed. There's a lot of caveats to that. But I get that. So sometimes I throw on keyboard typing on my phone while I'm falling asleep. Helps
So-
me
You know
fall
what
asleep
sound
faster.
I love?
Hmm.
Chips at a poker table.
Ooh, that's a
I
good
do
one.
Too. It's a really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, good chips, right?
I think I've been
You can hear the
Pavloved.
quality of the
but-
chips.
I
Just that
will.
sound of that shuffle. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've been Pavloved, but I will zone out to a relaxed state when I hear repetitive old video game music.
Mhm.
It's just having played so many old games that the soundtracks, the music's like a minute long and it just plays on repeat when you're playing the game. So when I hear old beeps and boops that just repeat themselves, I'm like, I'm just going to go to sleep now.
It's chip tunes that make you come.
No, because chiptunes are all like excited and anime weeaboo stuff. Yeah.
Related to the chips, but also, man, card shuffling.
Yeah.
Like cards riffling. I love that sound.
I did want to bring this up related to this ASMR thing. I had to do a book at work about some cat whisperer, and he talks about how cats, whether this is true or not, the way he described it is that they do not have a dulling of sensory input. So like if we smell the same smell over time, you can't smell anymore. When you're petting a cat, it's like the first pet each time, and that's why they like start freaking out and don't like to be pet. I don't know if that's the explanation or not, but those head massagers that are the thin-legged water ski looking things,
Yeah.
it's not painful, it's not bad, it's not good, but like I swear I'm getting shorter, like trying to recoil from those when they're on my head because it's a sensation overload, and I just want to run away when I have them.
Duly
used on me.
noted.
I do not. I can't tell if I
Guess
like
how
it
you're
or
gonna
not.
wake up.
Yeah.
Do you know how you mitigate Russ doing that to you in your sleep? Wear a horse mask.
Yeah. Emergency horse match.
Ta-da!
This would solve the issue.
Yeah.
Speaking of poker, though, again, I might not poke my mic anymore.
For once, it's not me.
Yeah, I just wanted the audience to know that I'm gesturing.
He's emphatic.
Yes, might start picking up some extra hours dealing down at the card room behind Costco.
Oh, no
or
shit.
Walmart.
Glad
Right
I
on.
Yeah,
went
you
to-
talked to them about that?
Yeah, they're always pretty hard up for extra hands on
You're
deck.
a good dealer.
And
Yeah.
I was like,
I've always loved when you deal.
the funny thing is like, I know that I'm pretty competent on the table, especially when I sit down to dealers that are much slower than I am. And I just don't really care enough to like prove that I'm good, because I know I've reached a certain level of competency at this
Sure.
that I'm confident in my skills. So,
But they're going to make you go in and try out.
well, that's the thing is
Yeah.
like, it's funny because I see the dealers that they hire and how bad they are.
Yeah, there have been a
mediocre
couple
and
dealers
stuff
out there
like
that bother me.
Oh, they're just so goddamn slow, or not paying attention, or so many things. I don't feel like they are aware of my competency
Sure.
at dealing, and so they're like always kind of, oh yeah, we got to give you a call, or you got to catch this guy in on this day and talk to him. And I'm like, if I see him, I see him. I'm not gonna go out of my
Yeah,
way.
I got a job.
Yeah. If you guys want to bring a better dealer in the house, I can make some extra money on the side.
I always love when job interviews, like, I make sure that you're going to have to test to at least 30 words typing a minute. And I was like, oh, I don't think that'll be a problem. Like, I'm 80 to 100, on an average day. It's seeing some of those people typing. I'm like, how did you get this
Dude,
job?
you got to try the new keyboard that I got.
Is it all mechanoidal analog?
So I've been using mechanical
Organic
keyboards for a
springs.
long time now. This is my favorite by far.
Are there tiny sprites that
I don't-
resist your push?
There's some kind of magic.
Mhm.
Some kind of magic. Oh, it's such a good typing experience.
Clacomancy.
It's so good.
How fast do you think you can type?
Not terribly fit. I don't know what's average.
I don't know.
Nowadays, I'd say 40 to 60.
Yeah, probably.
I could
Words a
probably
minute.
type 45 words a minute.
Maybe a little faster than that.
Maybe.
You're not a hunting pecker, are you?
You think 60 is
No,
the average?
I'm-
Because I was going to guess
40 to 60.
I was going to guess I think I could do 60. And I feel like I'm pretty competent at typing.
I bet you could do at least 60.
I'm not a good gauge because I type all the time, and I'm never around you guys when you're typing. So I don't
Yeah.
Well, I know that 80 and 100 is impressive. It's
That's
like
usually like where most people cap out.
Yeah,
You have to
that's
like,
where I cap
work
out.
to get. 100's a good day when I'm in the flow. I'm usually 80 to 90.
didn't like old school secretaries do like 120 plus?
Yeah,
Can.
but they trained. And
Yeah.
that's all they did. you know.
So that's kind of what I was thinking. Is like I know how, and I know I know it's all memorized. It's all muscle memory.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't do it consistently.
Yeah. See, part of my job, I type all day
Right.
long,
So you give me like 4 or 5 hours just typing away. I'm sure I'm going to improve over that 4 or 5
No,
hours.
we're talking. What kind of accuracy are we talking about too?
Exactly. That's it too.
If I'd guess on an average day, I could do 80 with no errors.
Yeah.
I definitely don't think I do 80 with no errors.
Let's pirate a copy of that Mavis.
What? There's free things.
Yeah,
out there.
there's free trainers.
Let's all
There's
do it.
tests.
Well, let's go find a free one of the old school one, the
I'm
Mavis
just going to
Beacon.
suck on that laptop if that's what we use.
God, I don't.
Oh, the
know.
laptop and laptop typing is just bad.
Those were the other things I was going to rant about before we started recording.
That's all I
is
type
mini
on.
keyboards.
Yeah.
Oh my
Why
God.
did they make them? Knock it off.
I don't know. So this one is a full size keyboard, but
Without the numpad.
without
Club.
but the full size keyboard is just talking about the this quadrant here.
Yeah,
But
the buttons are retarded.
yeah, the buttons are dumb.
What the fuck are those buttons?
Dude, this is actually relatively good for a laptop, but laptop keyboards are just fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
I did enjoy my dad's Vio.
The Vio. Yeah, but that was before they started getting like this thin. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I also think my laptop was wider. I think I might actually. I don't think it had a numpad,
Probably not. I don't remember it having a numpad.
but it seemed larger.
Yeah.
I remember really hating Vio when they came out because the word is offensive to me.
Is it?
The sound and look of the letters and
I like it.
No, it's terrible.
It just
It
took
just
my brain
reeks
a while
of-
to realize how to.
Corporate fakeitude. We need a new brand. How about 3 vowels and then a consonant that's kind of like a vowel?
Yeah.
Oh man, what's the? There's an episode of Better Off Ted where they come up with a fake project and they name it.
Is that the show with the invention stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was talking to
Yeah,
them about it
I
earlier
never
before
watched
you were
it.
here. I was
Oh,
like,
Better Off Ted is hilarious. It
Yeah.
ran 2 seasons.
Yeah.
A
Andy was
damn
saying he
shame.
wanted a chair that was comfortable but not too comfortable.
Yep.
It's like that's from that show.
So that's what. So I was just talking about it because the only time that I ever have to tell you to bring your mic closer to your mouth is when you're getting too comfortable because you do this.
Oh,
and then,
yeah.
you know it doesn't
Yeah.
follow. So I was like, I want the space when we create the new podcast set to be, comfortable but not too comfortable. Yeah.
What if we get like super comfortable chairs? But
That's the
put
most
a
blasphemous
single
phrase I've ever heard.
thumbtack like on the headrest.
No.
What I need is like an apparatus that keeps the mic at a perfect distance and angle from my head so that wherever my head goes.
Yeah, we'll just get you
The
like a
mic would
BDSM
go.
collar with a selfie stick, and it'll be on your neck. And
I can make that BDSM
just
collar.
point at your mouth.
I'll never be too comfortable.
Well,
It'll be gorgeous. And
what
made
we
out of leather.
need is an audience who likes to watch us nap.
Dude, so that is a thing that there were some streamers
Live
who were doing that
dreaming.
for a while.
Welcome-
Live dreaming. I
Welcome
call
to
it.
my stream
Yes.
channel.
So that's kind of a good segue into what we were talking about earlier and what we
so
have been
bad.
talking about for like a couple weeks now.
I hate the world so much.
We do plan on moving our podcast to a live broadcast, probably on Twitch.
And for those of you not in the know, we're not referring to the like
We're not
Random
referring
I
to
don't
anything.
I never
We're
refor.
fiving things.
yes, reform. What did I say?
Refor.
Referring.
Not reforing.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It is too many consonants.
Sure.
Twitch is a
Vio.
a service. Vio. I
Yeah.
shouldn't have brought it up. Are you gonna tease me with it?
Twitch mostly used for popularized at least by game streaming.
I don't think you need to describe
Yeah,
I don't
everybody
think-
knows what
I
Twitch
don't think
is.
so either,
If
but
you
I don't.
listening
I've never
to a
even been on
podcast.
Twitch, but I know what Twitch
Nick
is.
started it. I wanted to finish it real quick.
Nick likes to condescend to people.
So
people know.
Teach.
Yeah, well, there's a fine line.
Someone's
sir.
gonna be like, "I heard my podcast is on the Twitcher," and they're not gonna know what they're talking about.
I don't want those people listening.
I do. We need to teach them, enlighten them.
So, anyways, we do plan on. It's going to be a while out. We got to figure out the logistics, the space, the money, and the tech. But we will be doing live broadcasts, both game streaming and the podcast on.
and nap streaming.
A little
There's
nap
gonna be
stream.
no.
I don't think no.
Just one nap stream. But
I'm going to
then-
make sure that that sofa is just comfortable enough that you can't nap on it.
You know what? You know what we could do?
Handy's one of the people who can sleep anywhere.
Yeah.
Good luck.
What could we do? What could we do?
Never mind.
Okay.
Go back to
That's going under my hat for later.
Good idea.
Just gonna pull a fast one on us at that point.
Keep that one for later.
one day we're checking on the streams, just Andy snuggled up. God damn it!
Snuggling was part of it.
That's what I worry about most, is that I'm gonna be tuning into our stream while I'm at work and stuff like that.
Watching us
That'd be
sleep?
awesome,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
No,
I
that would
don't
not be
see the
awesome.
problem.
I don't know. I would have the need.
Yeah.
The
You'd be
need
like
for
a
speed.
parent knowing the kids are out of their like very first Burning Man or something.
So I can jump in chat and be like, knock it off.
I'm not going to call you Daddy Andy. I'm sorry. That's not happening.
Dude, I will call you daddy all day.
Okay.
I will
Hashtag
call
daddy.
you Father
Hashtag-
Mayfield.
I'm okay with that as well.
I like that a lot.
I wanted to combine your name with daddy, but I got Dandy, and I'm like,
Dandy Andy.
Daddy
Okay.
Andy.
I like Dandy Andy.
Dandy.
Big Dandy.
Yep. I've got a lot of people that call me Daddy Ander
Daddy
because
Ander.
because of
Good.
my online handle. Yeah.
Is the
Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
know
that
if we
makes
can
sense.
say
I
it.
get
Can we
that.
say it?
Yeah.
Can we say it?
Oleander? The Oleander?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Dude, a lot of people know that. Yeah, it's fine.
In addition to tiny keyboards, the rant I was going to have just before we started recording
Yep.
was about USB cables.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to bring up again to everybody in the world that if you come up with... I gotta stop touching my cord. Stop touching your microphones, everybody out there. That's what I'm telling you. No, USB cables. If you come up with a better version of it, power adapters like USB-C, which does not require you to have an orientation, the housing, everything about it is made more robustly than micro USBs.
Yep.
The standard, I think it's probably got a better definition than just micro USB, but
No, micro USB is micro USB. It's based on the USB 2.0 and 3.0 platform.
it's not something like micro USB C port or anything like additional to that. Okay.
No, micro USB is micro USB. It's, I mean, it falls under the different standards of USB type 2 and 3. But yeah, micro USB as far as the form factor is just micro USB.
Okay. That form factor fucking blows.
Yep. Always
it,
has.
It almost depends. It doesn't matter what manufacturer is making a micro USB cable. They stand such a chance of just getting the slightest torque.
Yep.
And it stops functioning. The directional orientation is if you've had a solution for that for so long, it blows my mind that like why do USB ports still run one direction?
I don't know.
knock it off.
XKCD made a comic about it. It's like first panel, there's 13 competing standardized formats. And the middle panel is like, well, let's fix all this and make a better one. Last panel is there are 15 competing standardized
Yeah, no,
formats.
that and it keeps getting worse. It keep like I'm pretty sure I watch Linus Tech Tips, and I think they said there were like 31 or 32 now USB Type C standards. Just Type C.
It's too many.
Yeah.
Literally. Like
Yes.
it needs to just be one many.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind necessarily if you have to pay particular attention to like what voltage and stuff it does.
Yeah.
That makes a little more sense to me. But when you come down to the housing itself, just use the best one, which is USB-C.
Well, but then you have to remember the USB-C is the same form factor as Thunderbolt.
Thunderbolt.
Okay. What is that? I don't know if this
He's,
is
he's
So-
making stuff up. Don't
No,
listen to him.
I'm not. It's actually right there. So Thunderbolt is the same form factor as USB Type C, but instead of
I
so
thought the Thunderbolt was a tab as opposed to like a donut.
yes, you were correct in earlier iterations of Thunderbolt.
Okay.
Yeah. So Thunderbolt is Thunderbolt 3 to be specific is the latest iteration of Thunderbolt, and it is in the form factor of USB Type C. But for data, instead of using the USB platform, it actually goes through the PCI Express bus through your computer, so it's
That
much
is
faster.
riveting information.
I know, isn't it?
Yes.
Actually, I did find that pretty interesting.
Well, it's something that I have to monitor all the time.
The
because
educate your mind part of our song finally makes sense.
for the first time. Yeah, I've actually thought about having Cameron over to re-record that and be like, "Wait, we're not trying to educate anybody." On this. Like,
Correct the artist. Like, you aimed a little high.
yeah,
Your artistic liberties were
appreciate
taken
that.
too far.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, every now and then, I'm sure we talk about things that people don't know.
I educated a child the other day in ballistics.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a birthday party I went to for a child that I have relation to.
Mhm.
And he got not one, not two, but 3 Nerf guns, one of which was a crossbow, which was pretty amazing. And of course, it's another bunch of small boys now with guns.
Sure.
And I pointed out, okay, the first thing that we're going to do after I bust my knuckles open cutting these Nerf guns out of the boxes is I'm going to shoot each of you with them. And I'm going to do that so that you know how much it hurts to be shot at point blank range, so you don't do it to each other. They were not happy about it. But I made them do it anyways. It took about 5 minutes, and then they found it funny, and they started shooting each other.
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
It didn't really backfire because at least they're laughing and not crying.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty fun getting to shoot small children with Nerf guns.
Yeah.
As long as you don't hit the eyes, Nerf guns are fine.
Yes.
You know.
Go for the eyes.
Well, and then like
Go
most of
for
the
the
time, your
eyes.
eyes are fine. If you get hit with a Nerf gun
Well-
or Nerf dart.
Most of but you don't want it sticking to your eyeball. That sounds miserable.
Yeah.
I've
they
seen
have
that.
some sweet ass Nerf guns.
Yeah,
Yes, they do.
I was thinking about that. Like in our day and age before we had video games, but toys were still like a category of cool thing. And, you know, toys are still a thing, but you have so many electronic options now. If we had some of the toys kids have available now, we would have turned inside out.
Do you remember there was a water gun that was voice activated?
Yes, I had the one that strapped to your head.
Yeah.
I had one of those as a
I
kid.
did too. It did
commercials
not
for
work
it.
as advertised.
I'd say
Screaming and
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Seriously. Fire!
I'd say it worked as advertised the first like 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah,
Just
that
have-
thing sucked.
And then it was just like this little. It was like one of those fucking fake flower water gag things
Oh,
that didn't
yeah.
even really shoot that well.
What's the number one most irritating thing about Nerf weapons is having to reload.
Yes.
Right? Collecting all the darts up and reloading. They have made such amazing leaps and bounds over the years with the Nerf reloading system.
belt
Oh, yeah.
fed.
They have
Yeah.
hopper fed ones now. My friend was just telling me, he was like, they have them to where now it's literally they're loose in a bin and it will feed them back up into the gun.
That's
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
It's that's bananas, dude.
Yeah. I saw a really irritating one. So I coincidentally, it was just like a week and a half ago, I sent a bunch of the Nerf guns that we have at work from when the boss and his kids were all playing Nerf guns back in the day, and shipped them off to Reggie, his kid and stuff, who's down in Texas. I don't know why. He might have mentioned, I forgot, but he's
Texas,
like, hey,
you need a gun.
we need some Nerf guns. I'm like, all
We're
right.
bored.
But I was like, all right, so I got to take all of them out, see which ones will work, take a look at them. I'm like, oh man, this one breaks down into like 6 pieces and reassembles. I'm like, I'm not going to send the Gatling gun because there's a Gatling gun. That's one of the belt fed ones. But there's a double barreled shotgun. I was like, oh, neat, a double barrel shotgun. But then you realize that, so what happens is when you break it open to get the shells in or out, it has 2 like fake shotgun shells, and you have to put a Nerf dart in each one of those
I've
and
seen
then
that.
reload them into the gun. I'm like, that is way too much work.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Adam
Not
Savage
as cool as it could be.
built. He got a Nerf gun that shot the round ball versions of the ammo, like the little yellow golf ball looking things. And of course, the problem was he didn't have enough ammo, so he built a hopper and fit it to it that held 1,000 balls. You can watch him making it, and he just fires it for like minutes at a time. I'm like, that's just the dream.
Adam
A Nerf
Savage's
gun.
YouTube stuff is fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
I love that stuff.
It's been amazing.
Yeah.
Another fun toy was those. The iteration I remember was a Millennium Falcon, and it was a. Well, hold on, I'm getting there. It was a hopper filled with.
Millennium Falcon.
We're making stroking gestures because that's what Andy did for some reason.
So that's because I'm describing the hopper. So it was a cylinder, and it had those foam donuts,
Yeah.
discs,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
had like the vacuum or the blower on it,
Yeah.
and you pulled the man. Those were a blast.
Yeah.
I remember that toy.
I'd love to see somebody make one with foam discs like this big, like it's like a bazooka or something.
Yeah.
I think my favorite toy I ever had growing up was when one year my parents actually bought me a nice high-end electric RC car. And it's like, I would say it's the level below the hobbyist level where you start getting into like
The gas powered.
Because I mean, I don't have any idea how much. It was probably pretty expensive. It was a good year. My favorite toy, because it's such a blast to drive the thing. It was this big. Now this is me
2
remembering
feet.
it. That's how long it was, and it was probably about yay wide, big fin on the back of it.
That's meaty.
And like I could do stuff with it, like tape flashlights to it and drive it around at night.
Yeah.
And
Cool.
I didn't care about hitting things because like it's not necessarily. It wasn't like one of the.
It's number 4.
You should care about hitting things.
I should care about hitting things. Sorry about that. I don't know, just maybe because I was a kid, disrespectful of my toys, but it took a beating.
Or it was just robust.
It was extremely robust for what I put it through. I love that thing. But as in most RC cars, prior to our new era, you get to play with it for about 3 minutes.
Yep, before the batteries were dead.
Yeah, and it took 8 hours. 8 hours to charge this RC car.
Well,
for 3
because those
minutes of
battery
runtime.
packs were usually just a bunch of like A-cell batteries all connected to each other.
I know
Did you ever
it's
split
just-
one of those apart?
I know.
I did, yeah.
I know there's like 6 cells of stuff in there.
I think so. The one I had one that was pretty robust. Grandpa bought it from Radio Shack because he's like,
I'm
"What
sure
are you
this came
doing?"
from Radio Shack.
Yeah, well, and Grandpa was like, "What are you doing with these shitty toys? Like, oh, they have the guns over at Radio Shack. Let's go pick you up one." So he buys me one of the cool ones. But yeah, you got 15 minutes out of that thing.
No way you got 15.
I totally got 15 minutes out
not
of that.
on
But
mine.
it was like, I mean, the battery pack was like this big. Yeah,
It was just a battery pack with wheels.
that is essentially what it is.
Yeah.
But you know what? I vape. That's a battery pack with juice.
Yeah.
You know,
Those
everything's just a battery
serious
pack.
hobbyists have those chargers that'll charge like
No, the
6 or
hobbyists
8.
run gasoline.
Yeah.
They run gasoline power in their RC cars.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I've seen these
Dude,
crazy chargers.
That's
though,
how I
too.
feel like the hobbyist level gets to on RC cars. Is
So-
as soon as you start going to the gasoline.
You don't think there's more of a these days a pushback towards electricity because of the advancements in battery? Like I
I
feel
don't
like
think
that'd
so.
be better.
I
No, they'll
don't
go
think
to
they
drones.
compare
Yeah.
to gasoline. When it comes to the land-based vehicles, you think about like a 2-stroke motor and a freaking what's there? Help me.
A motorcycle, a dirt bike.
What's the shit motorcycle? The motorcycle Junior, Wiener Hut General, the scooter
Moped.
moped. Thank you. They get like
Wiener
5
Hut
million.
Junior.
You know what I mean?
Well, no, you got me further and further
Eventually.
from God. And it's,
I'm just gonna sit here shaking my hands.
Now you know how hard it is to describe something.
It costs like $2 to fill their tank, and they go
Yeah.
forever. So I would imagine a little RC car would be similar.
yeah. So when I was a kid, I used to go down to the school library during like recess and stuff and read through the hobbyist RC car magazines that they subscribe to. Dude, that was one of my favorite things. as a
These
kid.
days, though, like electric motors are so good and so
Sure.
fast.
Yeah.
The motors are, yeah.
Yeah, but it still takes a while to charge stuff.
That's why you have a big old fucking 8 charger thing, and you just swap your batteries out.
If you
after
got a
10
little
minutes.
gasoline car, you just stop it, you pour a little cup of gas in it, and it's right back on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that. So it was a Rogan podcast, and the guest he had on,
Bro Jogan.
it was Neil deGrasse. Yeah, it was a really bad interview. But what they were talking about, the like,
It was
the,
good but bad.
yes, the logistics of these electric powered vehicles is not quick charging; it's swappable batteries. So instead of pulling up to the gas station, you pull up to the battery depot, and they
I remember talking about that.
instead of waiting the 2 hours or whatever it takes to get you a decent charge on your battery, they just swap the battery out. So they're self-contained and they're just swapped.
I would imagine it would require a complete redesign of the battery layout
Yes.
in cars currently.
I'm sure it would.
Because right now Teslas are like mostly battery.
Yeah, and they still could be, but imagine the quick stop oil changes where they are under your car, servicing your car from below because they have a bay
Right,
under
you
your
just
car.
swap out a battery.
Exactly. Imagine that, but larger scale, and they were able to swap out the giant battery that is the majority of the underside of your car.
I don't want to trust a quickie oil change battery in
Well,
my car though.
I
already
not at first, but
Yeah.
everything improves.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
refines.
It would take some iterations, I'm sure, but I think that solves the issue of travel, like long distance travel with electric cars.
Yeah.
For the most part, you're just going to charge at home at night, right? You're not going to be driving so much every day that it's going to be a
That was
requirement.
my thinking. Is the majority of the time you wouldn't need to swap the battery.
Sure.
'Cause you don't go the 200-300 miles in a day that they can go.
Yeah,
And the
precisely,
range
yeah.
is getting really decent on those things.
It is, but based on our current battery technologies, that's kind of finite, right? This would kind of solve that issue.
Batteries just they suck. It sucks so much, and it's
Oh,
just
yeah.
so hard to make good batteries.
Mhm.
You wouldn't think it, but like it's just one of the most difficult technologies to try to improve right now.
Yeah,
So
it's one that we desperately need.
yeah.
I just read 2 articles about them making some leaps forward in energy storage inside batteries.
Hopefully.
They're early, so it's not, I don't feel that worth discussing as stated fact. But
Sure.
They're
we
exciting.
went from the lead batteries to nickel metal hydride to now lithium ion. I don't know if they've discovered a new good pair, but as far as I know, now at this point they all have their uses,
Yeah.
whether it's like safety, volatility, or duration
Power.
versus capacity.
Mhm.
But yeah, I've been watching a show on Funny or Die called Cooking with Jeff, and it's Jeff Goldblum cooking food with
Yes.
people.
Oh my God.
And
That
I was
sounds
trying to think of
fascinating.
someone more correct in this category of if anybody on this planet was an AR or an alien trying to be a human, I can't think of anyone more pertinent to that
Yeah.
than Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, I could believe that.
Like, it was hard. I was thinking Gary Busey, but
Yeah.
I mean, we all know he got in an accident.
Mhm.
Danny DeVito, maybe.
No, Danny DeVito is a pretty normal dude.
Well, I think he's just gotten good at it.
He's just he is a good actor.
But no, watching Jeff Goldblum, I'm just like, it's just like a cup of creep and 4 pounds of hilarity and some love. It's just, he's this weird cake.
Yeah, Jeff Goldblum is a weird dude.
Yeah.
They just
Yeah.
had him on, I think, one of the celebrity mean tweets.
Oh yeah,
Did they?
yeah.
It's like, the meme tweet was like, Jeff Goldblum, you're weird. We get it. You can stop now.
I don't know if he can. I love him to death.
So
He's
do
one
I.
of my favorite
Yeah, very
celebrities.
very eccentric dude.
Mm-hmm.
I think he does a lot of psychedelics.
He strikes me as someone who used to do a lot of things. He might
Probably.
still do too, but he used
Yeah,
to as well.
Definitely
right?
used to for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a weird cat.
Yeah.
Anytime he talks about the fact that he's a father now and his
Mhm.
kid, it's just like, what are you creating? Like, I sincerely hope that people are limiting your exposure to your own son just for his son's
I
own
wonder how his
sanity.
kind does reproduce.
Osmosis.
Jeff Goldblumosis. No, I
Stand
mean
next to a blood-brain barrier.
we saw the creation of his
through it.
offspring. It was documented in The Fly.
Yeah, that's what it was. Just got a fly machine.
Life finds a way.
Yeah,
You take Fly Jeff Goldblum and regular Jeff Goldblum, and then you merge them together into a slightly.
slightly less Fly Goldblum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, are you guys just about ready to take a break?
Yeah, let's take a break.
We can do that.
Okay. Yeah, I gotta pee like crazy.
Crazy pee.
Oh.
If you're hearing this, that means you've taken some time out of your day to listen to the Balcony Time podcast. So we'd like to take some time out of the Balcony Time podcast to thank you for listening. As always, if you like what you're hearing, hate what you're hearing, or think what you're hearing is meh, we'd like to hear about it. Leave us a post on Facebook at facebook.com/balconytimepodcast or send us a tweet to @balconytimepc. Also, be sure to rate, review, rave, and rant about the Balcony Time podcast on iTunes and Apple Podcasts. Now, back out to the balcony.
So you've been watching The Watchmen.
I have been watching The Watchmen. I think there's been three episodes so far. A new one comes out tonight, which we have New Silicon Valley as well. If you wanted to stay up and watch that. It's really good. I'm very much enjoying it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I haven't heard any spoilers yet, but I have heard some people talk about it. I guess they're just getting back into so a lot of people were saying you really don't need to have watched The Watchmen before jumping into the series, or you don't need to have read the graphic novel.
That's wrong.
Okay.
It's 100% wrong. If you don't know what's going on in that series, you're just denying yourself.
Visceral pleasures.
Well,
Yeah,
would you
like
find
you're
it
gonna-
entertaining without having
Yeah,
read it?
like
In the sense
same
that
way
it's an
a-
action
a
show,
child
right?
jiggles
Yeah.
keys in front of his face and laughs. Like,
But you'll be missing layers.
Sure.
Who
Yeah.
watches
Yeah.
The Watchmen? Jangle, jangle, jangle.
yeah, I feel like the show's good enough that yes, it stands on its own. But if you haven't seen The Watchmen, you're just denying yourself the recognition of the world that they've built there.
Well, I hear in the third episode you definitely because the consensus was you really don't you can enjoy it standalone, but then everybody kind of reversed what they had said when the
Yeah,
third
I
episode
don't
came
even-
out.
I would be so confused. So, like the 7th Cavalry is all wearing Rorschach masks, and like I don't. some point in an episode they referenced that it was the Rorschach mask. It's like, if you don't know who Rorschach is,
Right.
that has no context. It
Yeah.
makes you're just gonna have to go along like, I guess they'll tell me later.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, no, yeah. And then by the third episode, there's some reveals there that you would have no idea. One of the main characters is she's playing one of the heroes from The Watchmen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's in it, so I don't know if it's the same actress, but it doesn't matter.
I guess they'll tell me later. Reminds me of something, so I'll save that for a little bit. Let's keep going on Watchmen if you got more to
Yes.
say about it.
Well, in addition to that, I mean, HBO's really killing it right now, I feel, in coming off of Game of Thrones and whatnot, because Silicon Valley is still hilarious and enjoyable to watch, painful at times in its
Very much so.
awkwardness and bad decision making.
Yeah.
Train wreck status.
Yes.
It's fun to watch. And then the other one I just watched, the first episode of the second one comes out tonight, is The Dark Materials. The Golden Compass.
That's
book
Oh,
line
yeah,
stuff,
Mhm.
which I have. The only knowledge I have of that series is that they tried to remake it, and it was a kind of a cool movie, but apparently not done very well because it didn't stick in anyone's heads that much. And that it has overtones of anti-organized religion, I believe.
It's not so much, at least when it comes to the original book, they weren't overtones. That was like the thesis of the book, was anti-religion.
Okay, and I could see that so far in the, because I don't know the storyline, but there's a essentially religious magisterium that rules over the world, the entire world, and science and knowledge is kind of put into this. You can only research if you have our approval. They're supposed to have something called like scholastic sanctuary, to where they can do whatever they want, but they can't, because then the church will come in and be like, stop doing that. It's heretical. Like, they throw around heretical a lot and stuff, but it's, if it didn't even have those themes, which are going to appeal to me because I find them fascinating.
Yeah.
The world building is really nice. The CG is very good.
Oh, that's
Actors are
good.
all doing a fantastic job. A lot of times I can find that it's hard to get invested in a series if the main characters are children, because it's hard to relate.
Sure.
They have to
Totally.
have good children actors.
Yeah, and they're doing really good. Like, one of the main girl, I think she's like the main chosen one. It's enjoyable. It's enjoyable to watch.
Good.
From what I
Stranger
remember,
Things was an HBO original, right?
Netflix.
Netflix. That's right. That's right.
From what I remember of that series, one of the core ideas was that your soul manifested as like this psychopomp, this outside familiar.
Yeah,
that
it is an
was-
animal. Yeah, a demon is what they call them.
And, like,
Demons.
It just in as example how they quote unquote screwed up that reboot was in the first reboot. They were like these childish like Pokemon things where they need to have a more kind of vile bent to them. I don't know. Apparently they're doing a better job with this one.
They
but
had like weird Pokemon creatures.
well, they're so like, from what I remember in the movie, it was much more cartoony. Whereas in the book, in the original, your soul manifestation was much more insidious / cynical. You know, at least a little bit more adult. And I was reading that they're doing a better job with that for this new one. But
the movie that they tried to make a couple of years ago, I feel like they tried to go.
I didn't watch
hyper-realistic.
it.
That was the
Just
Golden
didn't-
Compass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't see it?
No, I saw it. I
Okay.
don't remember it very well. But
Yeah.
it was.
I think
it
we
was,
saw it together, and
Was it
I don't remember
enjoyable?
it very well.
I think as an action, kind of a young YA action movie, it was decent.
Okay.
And at the time, I think the CG was okay, but I think the storyline was a little too much for a movie.
Because I haven't really heard much of any of this shit, and it all sounds pretty interesting.
check out the HBO series.
Okay.
I think,
I think
pretty
you'd like
good.
the book too, as a fellow book reader.
All right.
His Dark
Isn't it a
Materials-
series?
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
It's
It's
been
a-
so long since I read them.
It's at least 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's at least 3. It's a trilogy. But now, see, the thing is, like, they're doing such a good portion on the show. Normally, I would be tempted to just go pick up the books, but I think I'm going to try to resist that.
Yeah.
I did with The Expanse, and now I'm 7 books in, and I don't give a shit about the TV show because we're going too slow.
Right.
This is a complete side note, but it bothers me. I have a box of Triscuits in front of me.
Yeah,
that I
you've been
purchased
glaring at it for a
with
while.
my hard-earned money. Other minor quibbles aside, on one side, it said it is made simply. There are only 3 steps. You cook the wheat, you shred and weave the wheat together, and then you bake it to golden perfection. But it makes me wonder, when the hell did they add the dried carrot granules, dried pea protein, and freaking leek powder? Like, I don't see any instance in that in the instructions.
They
Yeah.
don't print the sub steps.
Well, then how am I going to recreate this? Right?
You're not supposed to.
Well, that's a shame.
They want
They
you to
grow
buy
a wheat
more.
that has all that stuff already in it.
That's
Yeah.
right. Full of grow leek powder.
Yep.
They call them gamos.
Yeah.
They grow it in cheese.
In cheese. Okay.
So you said earlier that sparked conversation that I wanted to bring up. Oh, guess I'll find out. So Death Stranding came out recently, and boy, is that a game of, well, I guess I'll just find out. Because, dude, they just start throwing stuff at you. BTs, BBs, Carnal,
Chiral.
Chiral Nilly. Yeah.
Adam picked up the game. I've been watching him, and it reminds me, it's like a spiritual successor to Metal Gear Solid. You've
Yeah.
got the super serious, intense political black drama thriller, and then the Japaneseium layered on top. And I was showing them some of the pictures we'd taken screenshots of the main
Those were a
character
blast.
flipping off the camera, kicking his feet in the air. The bathroom asking him if he wanted to pee or shit to make his ghost bombs. And it's, you're like, okay, that's happening now. But yeah,
Dude,
that's great.
Sounds like a Kojima game.
Yeah. So over the last few days, because I think it came out on Thursday or Friday, I was watching some Twitch streams of Death Stranding, and boy, does that game look intensely beautiful. That just an incredible looking game. But B, it looks very story driven. But the gameplay, man, the gameplay is literally traversal, like 100% traversal. I don't know if it's a game that I would be able to finish, but it's fun to watch.
I was reading somebody commenting on it on Reddit, and I think that he made a very good point, and I will repeat it as best I can. The main problem with a game like that is that it got so hyped.
Yeah.
And it's not that it didn't live up to a hype, it's that on that hype train, they started building expectations for a different game.
Yeah.
And because Kojima Studios and whatnot was being so secretive about it, I don't feel like they probably did enough work to right the misconception. And so people were expecting a different game than they got from their own fabricated expectations.
I can easily see that
So-
because in the trailers we saw, war and like lots of action scenes from the trailers, right? Like the early teasers that we got. It was a lot. I mean, there was.
I don't know. I said from those early trailers, you could tell that
I
you
remember
weren't seeing a
skeletons
ton
in
of the
sewers.
Sure.
normal gameplay. You were just seeing some high action moments of the game. They
Right.
felt like they were not the norm,
Right.
but the exception.
I could see how people would confuse
Highlights of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
But
could.
yeah, I get how they confused it for
Yeah.
sure.
But so I'm kind of curious about this. Was that false expectation put out there, or was that just like a false interpretation that was made and just blew up?
I think
That's
it's a
organically?
perfect storm. The
I don't
lack
think you
of-
can
Yeah.
blame
lack of information on how the game played, combined with most of the trailers I watched were all cinematics. There was no gameplay in them.
But that's what I'm talking about. In these cinematics, you were seeing like they were fairly action oriented.
The cinematics I saw, the most action oriented I saw was a bunch of World War II skeletons looking for a dude in a sewer. I didn't see any combat, anything like that. This is just a side note, but it's something important to note. Adam's best friend has been playing it since it got released, and he said he got maybe about halfway through the game, and he said, in no less words, that the entire game shifted to like what feels like a different game.
Yeah, which is
believe
what
it.
I would expect.
Yeah.
100%.
That's what I'd expect from a Kojima game. That's what happened in all the Metal Gear
Yeah.
Solids.
Yeah. So
You know.
one, I remember reading the post you read, and I read another one. The guy said that he, after playing this game, is aware of how much traversal has become a means to an end in modern day games with flight paths and teleporting, and it feels like Kojima wanted to make a game where traversal became the content. Because even just watching Adam play, it was surprising how intensely we were getting wrapped up in him just trying to climb through a ravine. And it was weird that the majority of the gameplay was he was trying to balance his load on his back, make it across this ladder, and like using his weird overlay AR to like look at the rough terrain on the ground to figure out this exact path that he had to map out on his mini map. And all he's trying to do is get from point A to point B. So on top of that, they have a very Dark Soul-esque online component where you can put down signs to alert other players of things that can be liked or voted on. But more importantly, you unlock the ability to build bridges and ladders and highways and roads, and other players can have those added to their game. So there was this like collective on Reddit that's recently started where you add people on your friends list in game, their stuff is more likely to show up. And some people have found fun in the game just by making highways through the game so that other players can then use them for their courier missions. So I thought that was
That's
pretty
neat. I didn't even know that was
Yeah.
an aspect.
Yeah,
of it.
it's
This game
super
sounds
cool.
like a trip.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's been games that use traversal as its almost primary content, which I think of like Journey. Journey was just a get from here over to there kind of game.
Yeah.
Almost no other content was there.
I think Journey was a traversal game, but I think the meat of the game was found in your, not only your online interactions, so your limited scope of ability to communicate with other players, but the environment. This game has meat to it, and like you have like your feet have a health score, and you have to worry about what kind of boots you're wearing.
Sure.
You have a balance stat. So the meat of this game is very granular. It just happens to all revolve around getting from point A to point B. So I think Journey's a good parallel to this game, but they play completely differently.
Yeah.
Sure, I wouldn't compare it because it's more of a platformer anyway. So
Yeah.
what Journey is, but I don't know. It combines the nuanced monotony of a task, and I think of something like Stardew Valley.
Yep.
With one singular task, so you're getting a breakdown of nuance and complexity that you get to have the fun of managing these systems for, and doing just like a simple thing.
Yeah.
And once again, there's tons of people that enjoy the shit out of that if it wasn't potentially marketed to them as something other than it was.
Dude, I made a mistake. When I hurt my back, I took a day off from work, and I started playing Stardew again. Just because I was like, I don't want to commit to anything right now. My back hurts. I might need to go to lay down again here shortly. So I'll play a little bit of Stardew, a game that I've completed, 100 fucking times at this point.
I haven't
and God damn
finished
it,
once. I haven't finished one farm.
I got through 2 seasons in one sitting.
I probably would have played more on PC than on my mobile phone.
Totally.
It gets a little tedious
Yeah,
poking shit
for
with
sure.
my fucking stylus on my phone to try to play Stardew.
Definitely.
Something that I want to throw out there, and it's an idea I just had that we can all keep an eye on, but I follow a lot of tabletop game scenes, and whether this is related to the explosion of D&D or not, I've noticed in the indie scene, there's been more and more tabletop games that narrow down that focus, kind of like Stranding did with Traversal, where they say, let's role-play and examine this very specific scenario to see what comes out of it. And what comes to mind, the most recent, it's meant mostly as a comedy, but it was called Goths vs. Goths. And half the party are Goths, as in like the ancient British tribe, and the other half are modern day mall Goths. The game takes place in a mall, and it's about their interpersonal relationships. Right? It's very bizarre, but like that's just a standard. Like if I had to put somewhere, like that's a middle ground of how esoteric some of these games are getting. And I wonder, if I think back to the last like 10, 15 years video game wise, we've had the technology and the cry for games that cover such a scope. We were just talking about World of Warcraft outside. It covers everything a fantasy game could have. Maybe we're going to see this kind of rejection of that in a yo-yo effect towards games that are more focused on, let's explore this little slice of what could be. Because I see that a lot in the tabletop game scenario right now.
I'd be okay with that as long as it was good gameplay. At the end of the day, or story. Like I can sacrifice gameplay for story. Or
I have to remind myself, games have really only been around for like 50 years.
Yeah, it's one of the newest mediums.
Now that our technology is getting so powerful, we're starting to realize that narratively wise, we have the room to explore really any particular thing we want. I think of things like What Remains of Edith Finch and other things like that. There's a lot of room there to explore things that you wouldn't normally consider a game, and I imagine they're going to get bigger and bigger over time.
Yeah,
but they'll probably never overtake the AAA games because they make too much money.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they'll always be around.
Call of Duty is performing very well right now.
Of course.
Of course it is.
How long's that been out now?
2 weeks.
Yeah. People don't learn.
Nope.
It's surprising to see. There's apparently a shotgun in the game that you can put slugs into, and it becomes a super overpowered weapon. And by the sheer clamor of the internet complaining about this gun, you think this game had been out for like a year.
Yeah.
But apparently it's been out, like you said, 2 weeks.
Been out for 2 weeks.
Yeah. And like Russ said, like you don't don't play Call of Duty. There are so many other options if you want to play a fun, balanced shooter.
From what I've seen from the single player, I'd like to play that once it goes on sale for like $20.
When I
Other
hear
than that,
one
I
of
have no
my
interest.
favorite reviewers comparing a Modern Warfare or a new Call of Duty game to the original Modern Warfare storyline, I'll give that a shot.
Yeah, that's what
But nothing's going to top that first first Call of Duty 4, was it?
Yeah, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. I agree. It'd be really hard.
Was that the one that opens up in the airport?
No, that's Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2.
Okay.
Call of Duty 4 was known for the sneaking through the grass scene, the sniping.
Oh, yeah.
Chernobyl,
Yeah,
all that stuff.
which was fan-fucking-tastic. But what I have
2 was
seen...
pretty good too.
2 was really good. Yeah, I enjoyed 2. That's where it started to jump the shark story-wise.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was pretty good. What I'm seeing of the latest one also looks really, really good. And I have watched a couple of the single player levels played, so I have some spoilers, but it does look like something I do want to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no interest in the multiplayer anymore, but you know,
As a side note, Apex Duos is fucking awesome. And
Yeah?
I love it. Oh yeah. So
What
good.
would you say is the main
We missed our
like,
Apex date, Andy.
difference between having a teammate and having 2 teammates?
So oftentimes at my skill level, I can win a lot of 1v1s. I can win most of my 1v1s. But when I have 2 other teammates that aren't necessarily in positions to assist me, I will often find myself in 2v1s or worse.
Yeah.
It's just in that game, if there are 2 people shooting you, it's like, it reminds me of Halo, to where you're dead,
screwed.
you're done.
Yeah.
They have to be really bad, or you have to get pretty lucky to survive those. And so I survive a lot better because if my partner can theoretically survive his 1v1 and I can survive mine, and a lot of times if I take a 2v1, I can do enough damage and down one of them and do an extra little bit of damage to the other one that makes it easier for my partner to come in and finish them off if they're in position. Of course, there's many times my partner is not in position, and then that person has time to either res or heal themselves, which is frustrating, but we're working on that.
Yeah.
so in the next 4 to 6 weeks, as I build this new streaming PC, how forward are you looking to playing against PC players?
I'm looking forward to try it out. It's been so long since I've played a shooter on PC. Literally since like 2005, 2006, I think was when I was regularly playing FPS on the PC.
Yeah.
It's going to take a little practice.
Yeah. Oh, I know. But I like those. I'd like to dust those skills off, see where they're sitting.
Fuck yeah, dude.
I'm not holding out very much hopes. I'm very realistic that I'm now 32 years old.
Yeah, I'm pretty trash at modern FPSs, but god damn it, they're still so fun.
Yeah.
I'd bet money the thing that's going to blow you away the most is how fast you die. Like I'm
already
Apex
pretty
fights,
amazed at how
like-
fast I die in Apex in general.
just
so.
the moment you make contact with an enemy, where he's just dead. You're just dead. You're like, I had time to turn halfway towards the enemy and I died. And
Yeah.
that was part of the reason I stopped playing. It's like, I'm old now. My reflexes, I cannot keep up with these monster swilling Red Bull fueled little termite
Ritalin
machines.
popping,
Yeah.
freaking ADD machines.
They vibrate at a higher level.
They see partially into the future.
Yeah.
Sure. No, so my next thing is in the upgrade of my gaming situation on the console. It's just I really need to invest in a different TV.
Yeah.
I always try to eliminate hardware faults as best I can, so I can't blame them for my lack of skills. I can acknowledge that I'm not going to be on top tier level with these kids that can play 10 hours a day.
Yep.
And have faster reflexes and stuff. But I do feel like my skill level is higher than what it's at, and the TV is holding me back from another echelon. The first replacement already went well. I think getting another one that's got I can see clear.
Use a wired controller.
I don't.
Well, then I'd replace that before the TV.
Well, I ran the wire control before, and I'll probably switch back to it again. But I know that one's dealing with a few microseconds of input latency as well.
Is your console hardwired?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
That was one of the
That's
first
most
things.
important,
I actually
okay.
had to do that to play Overwatch. Overwatch would not run on the Wi-Fi network.
Which is it's weird.
I don't understand it, but it just wouldn't do it.
Yep.
I get kicked out of every other game for
Witchcraft.
disconnect.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. And I will say this about Apex duos: everyone is a bunch of thirsty bitches.
Yeah.
You get into a fight, you better survive and gear up fast because there's going to be another squad behind you, which is not unusual to get third-partied in normal Apex. But this means that you're going to chain these like through parties. Like you can get to a point to where you have to fight and try to survive your way through like 4 or 5 squads.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, you have to be strategic about like when you can engage with this squad or try to run away and hide so that other squads will run into each other. And it just becomes this like very centered mass in the game where everyone's vying for a best position to pick off another team or third party. And it gets intense.
Yeah.
It's pretty intense.
Speaking of terms, Penny Arcade brought this up, and I was thinking about it myself. People that are not, is it salty?
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 No, it's
Angry,
not
upset?
salty. It's
Sweaty.
sweaty.
Yeah.
So I have heard
heard
sweaty
sweaty?
in.
No.
We're not talking about literally sweating.
Well, I mean,
It's an adjective that I
metaphor.
have discovered applies to two situations. Either one, someone is trying, they're a try-hard, which is what we used to call them. They're trying really way
Gotcha.
too hard in a situation where it's not required. Or two, if you are losing, you call the people that are doing better than you sweaty because they're trying so hard and they killed you because they're trying hard.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out, like, does this adjective apply to both situations? Like, one, you really don't need to be picking the best meta pick right now because we're playing casuals, chill out, have fun. Or you died, therefore you can just accuse the opponent of being sweaty. Therefore, it's not your fault you died. And
I heard more. I think of it more than context of sweaty is just you're hyper aggressive. You're hyper competitive. You're taking everything really seriously, either because you are really good and you're kicking some ass, or you're just putting a lot of effort into it, regardless of how well that ends up being. In Apex, I was like, if I have a some random person that I'm paired up with, and they're chasing every gunshot sound I hear to try to engage with people, that person's sweaty. They're like, they want to get into the shit as fast as possible.
I heard it a lot in the YouTubers I watch when people are picking, like, they'll get into a match and the opponent team is only using top tier meta picks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, they're just this fucking sweaty team. They like want to minimize any chance of loss because winning, even by playing cheesy characters, is the most important
They
thing.
want to win. That's the key phrase right there, is they want to win. That sweaty players want to win.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even if they suck at the game,
At
you can still be
the
sweaty.
detriment of fun, they want to
Yes.
win.
I don't know if it's necessarily the detriment of fun.
Well,
I
then
wouldn't tack
I'd
that on.
always be sweaty because I always want to win, but I also just don't get salty when I lose.
Well, the question would be like, if you had a character that had some broken combo that was practically impossible to get around, and all your opponents were playing that would kind of necessitate some loss of fun, but it would also increase their chances of winning.
I mean, I can see it applied in that context, but I don't think that'd be the common one because there's not
Yeah.
many games that exist where there's like one singular meta that dominates. That would be
Yeah.
a terrible game.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So while I will sometimes follow meta, I don't usually. I definitely go more for fun than
I follow the meta.
playing meta.
It depends on how good I am at the game.
If I'm playing other players,
Yeah.
I need to know what the meta is.
I want to know what the meta is because if there's a way that I can combat that while still having fun, like I'll use WoW as the example. I'm not gonna reroll my class and level a new character just because they're currently at the top of the meta. I don't do that. I want to fit the character that I like playing the most into the meta as best as I can.
Yeah, so I would look at it in a similar method as the knowing the meta is knowledge that you can apply to whatever you're doing in the game. A good one for me is playing auto chess mobile.
Yeah.
Just having an idea of what the other teams are going to be trying to do, what meta, like what builds of their team to watch for, because I have to know what my best path is going to be to counter the 7 other players that are playing on the thing. I might not necessarily do it, but that knowledge will help me make better decisions on trying to build my own team.
Yeah, when I'm competitive, I do the same thing.
Yeah.
But I never change my class or my character. I don't allow my character choices or anything like that to be influenced by that for the most part.
Sometimes it's hard not to. Sometimes you might not even realize you're being influenced. If the purely having the knowledge of the meta environment is going to influence something.
Sure.
Unless you're just being specifically contrary, which in itself is a influencer.
Yeah, that is influence.
That's how I
going
like to
against
play a
the
lot
flow.
of my games.
I was going to bring you up because I know that
I'm an anti-meta player for sure.
which I feel is to your detriment.
You kinda
100%.
A lot of the time.
Yeah.
But
I like to do that on occasion, just because I do like to be like, I do like to show on occasion that like sometimes skill just beats out meta.
Well, I'll use this example, and I'm going to give you my rendition of what your thought process is, and correct me if I'm
Sure.
wrong. By having knowledge of the meta, if you're trying to go in and create something like a competitive L5R deck or a competitive team and stuff like that, that outside influence might prevent you from trying something that you wouldn't normally because it's been told to you that it is unviable or weak. So you can't discover new content because you're avoiding it because of what knowledge of the meta.
Mm-hmm.
So like when you like to build decks, you want to is just look at how the cards interact themselves and try to figure out how the best go together as opposed to what best counters what other people are doing.
especially in game formats like that, I feel like, yeah, there's a lot of opportunity for unexplored territory because of how the group mind works.
Yeah, and that's why I get into the insidious nature of just having meta knowledge.
Yeah.
Just even if it's floating around there somewhere, it might influence a decision that you normally wouldn't have. Me, I feel like it's doing it for the better. Like it's I don't have 40 hours to sit down and game craft theory and stuff on how interactions go or play test the game. So having a knowledge of like what the internet's talking about, that are the other players of this game, cuts down on the amount of research that I have to do.
The nice thing about like modern gaming is a lot of the time you don't have to go too deep into research because you will learn naturally what the meta is, like through playing World of Warcraft, especially because of voice communication is so prolific. I jump into Discord with 2 other players to do threes in WoW, and these 2 guys are talking about the current meta. Sure. I'll learn just then.
No, that's true. I mean, that's you're still getting your knowledge.
Yeah, I think that's going to get
actively seeking it out.
Right.
It's just there.
Yeah, I think it's going to get fed to you no matter what.
It's hard to avoid.
Yeah.
For me, something to consider is how game design space wise, how important the meta is in a game. Like I haven't played it, but assuming Call of Duty, there's a sheer number of people complaining about this shotgun being overpowered. That you have such a small design space that gun is like everybody's picking it. Because you might as well, because it's doing the best.
Yeah.
In a game like Smite currently, there's something like over 100 gods. Sure, 10 of them you shouldn't pick, and like 5 of them are top tier S meta in like official ranked play, but like 70 of them are just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're never in the meta, but like I'm good enough at the game when I played it, I'd be like, no one's gonna expect me to play this god and do well, but then I do because that difference in meta isn't enough of a factor. I don't know, like in auto chess, like there might be some things that are considered meta, but they're only going to net you like a 4% extra win rate. I'm kind of pulling numbers out of my ass.
No, but I get what you're saying, and
Yeah.
it's definitely not wrong. I think it's going to come down to what bracket of the competitive nature you're playing in.
Yeah.
for sure.
Mhm.
Like what level you at, bro? Because if you're you have ranking systems and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I know that the builds that I can get away with at my level wouldn't fly. Like I'd be getting crushed at higher levels, but there's also RNG involved in auto chess. So there is a smaller percentage of how much of an increase you're getting from having meta knowledge.
And something that's interesting, I assume this isn't in your auto chess, but like in Smite, the one Dota or MOBA I played a lot, there's so many different game modes, and if you're playing casual or not, the difference between casual and ranked play, entirely different meta.
Oh, yeah.
Like there were some characters that were just pub stompers, public group stompers. You picked them because people would not know how to counter them, and you could just reliably squash the team, and it became not fun playing as them because you're like, I know exactly how I'm going to play this every match, so I'm going to go pick this weird Chungus dude because he's weird and he's fun to play. But then, like you said, in competitive,
And also
it's completely different.
I'll say too, like, and this coming from a background of like a CCG with a pretty small player base, but it is fun to be the first to discover something very interesting that people take notice of. Like
100%,
that's a super just base level. It's a lot of fun to be the first there.
Definitely.
But it's also rare because
Yes,
we have the internet now.
Mhm.
And
It-
thousands
nowadays
and
it
thousands of
is.
people
I
do that
mean,
for you.
and also, back then when I was really doing that sort of shit with L5R, I had a really intimate knowledge of the game, and that goes a long way.
You were able
towards
to
that.
invest more hours in
all
day.
day. I could spend all day looking at cards and building decks.
Yeah. I mean, the difference in that, too, is I think about Overwatch. I mean, you go play casual versus the regular.
It's a completely different
Yeah.
game.
Yeah. I literally play characters I don't normally play in casual just because I can goof around.
You have
and
an
stuff.
option too.
One of the main reasons I never played competitive of any MOBA is because anytime they're a clone of Dota, your standard map, the 3-lane map,
Yep.
with towers and whatnot, an average game is like 30 to 50 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm not going to play a game with 4 other teammates I have to rely upon where you realistically know if you're going to win or lose with like a 90% accuracy within the first 5 to 10 minutes.
Yep.
And then I have to play out another 20 to 40 minutes so I don't get a you left the game penalty.
Mm-hmm.
Have you
Right.
tried any of the auto chess games?
I have.
Teamfight Tactics or
To me,
Underlords?
I feel like I'm turning over a card of decks and seeing if I get an ace before my opponent does.
I feel like you haven't played it enough then.
I played enough to be like, no, okay, that was dumb.
I don't know. Auto chess was fun.
There's
to
more
keep
levels to
getting
It's managing
better
the economy. There are times you get screwed. There's definitely times, and there's times you get really lucky.
But you know what? The better you get,
you reduce those from happening.
and then you're talking about like, I got screwed, but I got 4th place.
Well, yeah.
You
I mean,
know,
some of those like,
like-
look at this weird ass build I made, and I still made
got
like top
4.
3. Yeah.
That is always satisfying.
Yeah.
For me, I think the problem is that from what I've seen in that game, the gameplay revolves around obviously knowing enough of how the heroes work to make combos and synergies, because that's the point of the game.
Mhm.
Being aware of what your opponents are doing, making sure you're trying to balance banking gold with spending it, trying to, get all those combos and whatnot, and changing and pivoting your tactics mid-game to try to make it to the end,
Mhm.
using your hit points as a resource to spend and not as something to worry about losing. All that stuff's fine. But for me, when I play a game, I love tinkering with those things to then implement them and see the outcome. And when the outcome is I press a button and see if it worked, I've lost all interest. Like I've set up this deck and then I press it and my heroes fight and I just kind of watch them do their thing. And I'm never really entirely sure which opponent I'm going to be fighting. So it's like, it was the same problem I had in L5R. I never knew how to build my deck, knowing that we all played different clans.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that my clan was known for the defensiveness meant I made a deck that was really good at not dying, but it wasn't even really that good.
Mm-hmm.
So it just died a lot.
Also, not dying is not a win condition.
Exactly. So when I did
Unless you
play
go
auto
honor.
chess, I was like, okay, I like this idea
Yes,
of
but
getting
that's
the
not
combo
just surviving.
bonuses from the different
You
heroes.
can just get honor over time.
No.
Well, I mean, you have to play for it, but
You have to build a deck to gain honor. You can't just
Yeah.
sit
Yeah.
back. An honor deck is not just a survive deck.
You're not going to
It's-
win
it is-
against a competitive
That's
deck.
true. It is not just a survive deck, but
Yeah.
you could play it like a survivability honor deck.
There's too much interaction involved in new L5R.
The last time I played was
L5R.
in Diamond.
Oh, old L5R.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. That was
Yeah.
just
Hold up, 5R.
Yeah.
My
you did.
heroes,
You could just gain honor every turn. It was just
yeah,
a clock.
it's been 10 years, 15 years since I played, you know.
Yeah.
my
Okay.
heroes had abilities.
Welcome home. Okay.
I remember the crab having a stat where their main benefit was if they died, they would get to kill people in return.
Mhm.
Sometimes
Yeah.
it was like, this is the opposite of good game design, right? You don't want to make a character that's really good at not dying, just stay at home, right? So anyways, playing auto chess, I played, I don't know, like maybe 10 games.
I understand
yeah.
that if you don't like to just, I don't know. I feel like it could be very analogous to other games where you don't have a direct interaction with every mechanical aspect of it. I'm trying to think of.
It was mostly just, I felt like I was playing by myself. I'd make my hero deck, I'd put them out on the field, not really knowing where to put them. A bunch of enemies would show up, and then like you had the minion waves in between, and it's like, I don't really know what to expect.
Mm.
Like
So that's-
the
yeah,
next
that's-
fight is going to be probably a completely different team than what I fought next. So I don't know what I need to be building against.
Yeah, you come to learn through playing that game how to determine if your team's weak and strong and whatnot. And like I said, it's all about trying to minimize the negatives as best as possible. So I guess optimizing your team in relation to all that data that you're getting. So you have to, like, when you fight a team, like if you lose a creep round, you'll know certain aspects. If you lose to this player who has got this build, you know certain aspects about where your team needs to be tweaked on, or knowing which rounds to roll down to try to get that good RNG and whatnot. But I don't blame anybody for not liking it. I'm surprised
don't think it's
I've
bad.
enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, that's good.
I always find it very weird that game exists almost identically in 3 different areas.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand how that works. Like, literally, Teamfight Tactics, Overlord or Underlords,
Dota
and Auto Chess Mobile are nearly identical to the point where, like, they have all the same characters, they have all the same character names changed slightly, and they all have like the same racials and stuff. It all sits
They're
in
all
the same,
different games
They're all different games
by different developers or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, so Dota Underlords is the company that made Auto Chess Mobile, but they outsourced it to a Chinese company, and then in the meantime made the game again under their actual title of Dota, named
For the
Underlords.
PC, right?
It's mobile as well.
Oh,
It's-
okay. Huh.
The bizarre thing, and this might have to do with it, is this is all
That's
based off it's based off I think a Warcraft 3 user-made map. This is the same with Dota. Was originally a Warcraft 3 unique map someone made as like a multiplayer thing. So I imagine, I could be wrong. It might be a Dota user-made map.
Yeah, that's
it
that's
is,
the
yeah.
original.
Mhm.
It's inside Dota.
So
Yep.
Dota was a Warcraft 3 user-made map.
Yep.
And Auto Chess is a Dota user-made map.
Yep.
So they're all derivative of each other.
and since they're using the same IPs, I'd say, and like abilities and stuff
Well,
like
like
that.
the
but
original
gameplay
Dota
is
was made
different.
in the Warcraft 3 engine.
Yeah.
And I think Auto Chess was made in the Dota engine.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Yeah, when it was before it was released to mobile and whatnot, it was literally just a user map because that's what all the streamers started playing.
I haven't
Yeah.
logged on in a while. What's the meta like on Auto Chess right now?
Items are a problem.
DDoSing.
Why?
Items. So they changed the way the items drop in the game, and I'll cover this just really quickly because a lot of people probably don't care.
I bet a
But it's
lot of
fun.
people do.
It's
care.
fun game theory. So before this recent change, when you defeated a creep level, you had a chance of them dropping items. What that item was random, and whether or not they dropped it wasn't always guaranteed. So there was a lot of randomness in there.
Right.
They changed that to where if you beat the creep rounds, you had to choose from 3 items.
Okay.
If you lose to the creep round, you'll still guaranteed 1 item, but that item is random. So now the problem is that like by round 13, which is early, it's like a third of the way through the game, you can, because you have to choose your items, you can end up with like a Heaven's Gift item, which
Gotcha.
is ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's insane. Or you can get screwed. You still get screwed if you're just getting stuff that doesn't make some of these powerful end game items, and then you just get them like candy. Before it's like you gotta, if you were able to make a refresher orb,
It
before,
was you had
like
to focus on it.
you get really lucky on your rolls, and if you got it, you still have a good chance of winning because it's that powerful an item. Now I can force build a refresher orb almost guaranteed every game.
I tried to do that back before they had that mechanic. Like every time I'd just be holding on to those pieces and going, if I
Yeah.
get refresher orbs,
That's how good it was.
I win.
Put it on a berserker and go to town. Razor Claw was the key piece. Put a refresher orb. Anyhow, we have a problem now. It's too easy to get these really powerful items, and they're too swingy in the game. So now we're seeing a lot of physical damage races and whatnot builds because you can stack them with all these really powerful physical damage items.
So assassins are back.
Assassins are pretty strong.
Yeah.
Rangers are really good.
Yeah, you
Randomness
mentioned that
is
too.
Hunters.
I think randomness is an element that isn't considered enough because, in my opinion, you kind of have 2 kinds of randomness, and I view it like this. You have the randomness you get from rolling a die, where you have a range of values, and you never know what you're going to get. And then you have this other randomness, like a card deck, where, like, let's say you had a 10-sided die and a deck of cards numbered 1 through 10. If you were to shuffle the deck of 10 cards and draw them one at a time, they are random, but when you run out, you then shuffle the deck again. You're going to get the numbers 1 through 10 each time. You're never going to draw a number 10 twice before you get
But you can solve that by
3-2.
shuffling the deck with every roll. And then it's
It's not a solve thing. These are 2 types of randomness, and they're kind of on ends of axis, right? One is going to give you complete unpredictability, but fair and balanced gameplay, which is like a die roll. Because over time, eventually a die roll is going to give you a curve or an average, right? But in a short game, when you don't have a lot of opportunities to draw that randomness in that individual game, you might get completely boned or gain a complete benefit, like whatever the Heaven's Gift is. And I want to see more games have a randomness element, but it is bracketed like that deck where you're like, I know I'm going to get a 1 through a 10 this game. I just don't know what I'm going to get first. and that way you have something to predict, to work against and work towards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're dealing with essentially like pure randomness, which means I could play 100 games of the dice rolling one and lose every time.
There's a total chance for it's small, but it might happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I could be the outlier on the numbers. The other one, you at least know that
Eventually,
it's minimizing the amount of randomness you can have.
Yeah.
So like most board games that have a finite number of cards, like
I would say most board games don't because
that's
okay.
not true
That's
anymore.
There's a lot of games with way too much just bullshit.
I just think
That's
it's Catan. I think Catan's an excellent game. I think it's really well made, but I don't think there's enough roles in that game, in a given game, for that curve to really shape fair. I think it's too easy. There's probably only 50 rolls maybe in a given game, and I couldn't. I'm just pulling a number out of my ass, but that was the biggest problem with that game is because it's so kind of short. If you get screwed over at any point of the game, you just kind of fall behind, and when you fall behind, you then fall further behind. And
yes, Catan is bad for that.
Yeah,
it's too much dice rolling RNG.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to get into board games. Great example of a lot of Euro mechanics, but it drives me nuts, and I hate playing it.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, I have a standing rule to where I won't play it with anything but at least the Cities of Knights expansion, at the very least, because when you add more systems in which to make tactical decisions about, you can start to overcome potentially really bad dice rolling RNG.
Yeah,
and that's what a lot of games should focus on is if you're building off of a broken system going forward, how can you minimize the influence of that bad RNG can have on you?
I think of like playing a Catan game where normally you have the numbers 2 through 12, right? Make it a deck of cards where you have 2 through 12. The 6s and 7s and 8s and 9s, there's multiple copies of, right? But you know you're going to get a 2 or 12 in there. And
yeah, you can't ever be like flat out denied.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to play a game with a deck of cards instead of a dice where it's like, yeah, that 12's not going to show up nearly as often as a 7, but you know eventually it's going to hit.
That's actually interesting. I like this idea.
There's been lots of games of Catan I played where like I had like a 10 and I didn't get a single 10 roll until the end of the game.
You know what we should do? We should homebrew a Catan dice deck and see how that game plays.
So I just get a couple decks of cards.
Yeah, and just
you could start
them
by actually just doing a direct value comparison of the 2 to 12. You know, how many D6, if you roll 2d6, how many of those pairs come up as a 7, and put that many 7s in the deck and
you just add the cards based on the dots on the card. Remember how each dot has a number
that's
based
that's what it
frequency?
is. It gives you that curve. The
you got like
curve.
the 4 daughters are like the really good
you
ones.
You put 4 of those cards.
Yeah.
Start there, and then you
so
can tweak it.
I guess the first bit of information you would want is the average number of die rolls in that game, so you know how big to make the deck.
You just literally just make the deck based on the number of dots,
and then just shuffle it every time you run out.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, that'd be great.
That'd be an interesting way to start. Yeah.
Now, but then that I think that would work. Mm-hmm. My initial concern would be, then the money tiles, the ones that are guaranteed to hit every game, but not knowing when they hit and when they're going to pay off is still going to influence the game.
So everybody's still going to want to go get 6s and 7s all the
thing
time,
is,
right?
with 2d6, there's only going to be 36 cards in the deck. So I imagine you draw through the deck probably at least twice.
You might double it. Maybe double it so that the randomness is a little bit more complex.
Really, at the end of the day, you just need the right ratios of the individual numbers.
Mm-hmm. Or tweak the ratios if they feel off. But
sure.
We're getting in the weeds. Looking at my Triscuit box again.
I'm going to go back a couple subjects ago. We briefly brought up Warcraft 3 and Dota.
Mm-hmm.
Warcraft 3 Reforged is coming out, I think, later this year, maybe next month. I'm wondering if, because they're using a revamped version of the same engine, I'm wondering if we're going to see any kind of the creativity we saw, just because it's going to get it into more people's hands.
This is just like a remastered version of the game.
Effectively, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I can give them my money.
That's
Chinese
fine.
bootlickers.
A lot of people are going to. So, well, I don't know, dude. So we might see a lot of Blizzard backtracking here soon. So, did you guys hear about the curfews for minors that are playing games?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, that's pretty intense. So, you're shaking your head no, Andrew.
Yeah, I didn't hear about this.
So China, like, pretty much instantly set down a curfew for kids playing video games.
So you have to stop. You have to log off at a certain time.
You get I think it is
2 hours a day at most.
I think it might be less. I think it's like maybe an hour and a half.
And then
It's
on the weekends,
really
you get
short.
4 hours or something. It's like 1 hour a day, I think, during the week. I'm pulling numbers out of
Here,
my
I got
butt.
it right here. Under the new rules, gamers aged under 18 will be banned from playing online games between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. On weekdays, minors can only play for 90 minutes, while they may play up to 3 hours per day on the weekends and public holidays.
Wow.
Yeah.
So consider that. Like, how are they going to track it? Who knows? But they already have the social fucking credits system that they've got going on. So
China, they can track it.
Yeah. They
right,
could track
I know. I don't know how it's instituted, but I'm sure they're going
In
to be able to track
China,
it.
all online
It's
gaming
monitored.
platforms can be monitored and controlled by the government.
They probably have a shutdown switch for all of them
Sure.
or something.
Totally. So that being said, I'm wondering if because suddenly,
They're
the
capping money. Too.
capping money, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can only spend $60, I think, per month on games.
Roughly. So it's
Yeah.
gamers aged between 8 and 16 years old can only top up to 200 yen,
Won.
$29 per month.
Wow.
While the maximum amount for those between 16 and 18 will be $57 a month.
Okay. So what I'm wondering is if that is going to make the Chinese gaming segment smaller.
Well, they're going to start playing games that, for one, don't cost money because of the money limit. And two, I imagine this might be an initial push to get, I'm pulling outside my ass here, Chinese gamers to stop playing so many Western games.
Could
so
be.
that China could start controlling that more.
But my point was maybe Blizzard will be turning tail soon.
Yeah, but if they turn tail once the money runs
Yeah.
out, that's not an apology.
No,
to
no,
me.
I agree. I'm not. This is just conjecture, but
Yeah.
I'm thinking that might happen.
Yeah.
Like we
I
might
could see
see
it.
we might see the reversal of some bans and some apologies.
Yeah.
You know, we might see them being like pro Hong Kong,
What
just
I
to
see
just to
more
follow
and
suit.
more, we're getting close to politics here.
hate. Blizzard, don't spread the hate. That should be their new motto.
I'm seeing a Western and Eastern economic bloc form here more and more, and it's
The
a little
administration is
sketchy.
also working with police to set up a real name registration system and to enable gaming companies to check the identity of their users against the national database.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like the China we know right there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We're doing it to protect our kids from internet gaming disorder. Just register online with the
Yeah.
government, and we'll tell you when you can play your video games.
Yep.
Imagine where we'd be if we didn't play as many games.
Oh, dude, fuck that! I don't want to know. I'd be responsible.
Yeah.
Fuck, there's so many different paths my life could have taken.
We'd be in the same spot, but with a better table.
I'd be such a Chad.
You probably would
I'd be such a Chad, dude.
Yeah, you'd have a monster tattoo.
I love driving fast and cars. Fucking
So you'd be dead from a high speed.
no, because I mean, I wasn't necessarily a responsible driver when I was young. So
yeah.
yeah,
I think my nerd passions have kept me away from many a dark path.
Oh,
my
yeah.
life
Totally.
has gone down. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's true.
I appreciate where I'm at.
New
Oddly,
parents,
yeah.
if you want your kids to be safe growing up, make sure they become nerds. They
Yeah.
won't be out doing drugs and getting pregnant and whatnot. They'll
Funny
be
enough,
home sorting magic cards.
I ran with a bit of a bad crowd during high school for some time.
Tunnel
But-
snakes?
That's because
Yep.
you went to a different school than us. You couldn't hang
Yeah,
out with us.
right.
Yeah.
But like I started doing some drugs and dabbling in a little bit in the hard drugs, but I would not play World of Warcraft under the influence of anything because I was kind of competitive.
Oh, dude. I'm pretty sure that the majority of my Warcraft experience was played doped out of my gourd. Just smoking
I'm-
so much pot, like in my bedroom.
I'm just saying, if I hadn't had that there, I might have just been fucking starting to do the harder stuff.
Well,
Yeah,
we saved you, Andy.
World of Warcraft.
No,
saved
we
me.
saved you. You would have never played World of Warcraft if it wasn't
That's
for
true.
us.
That's true. Yeah.
I actually don't know if that's true, but I do feel
No,
like
I mean Nick got me into Warcraft 1, maybe 2.
2.
Yeah. So and that's when I started to really enjoy it.
I mean, you really started hanging out substantially more post high school.
Oh, for sure.
So
Well, I mean, yeah, I had other friend groups that I hung out with
we
in high
don't
school and
talk
stuff.
about them.
They
They
were
don't
good people.
count.
There were plenty of them were great. Some of them I mean to reach out to all the time because they're genuinely like good people and stuff. Like, and I think that they would fit in with this group, fucking pleasantly. But You know,
Nobody fits in with us pleasantly.
The older I get, the more I'm convinced that anyone I'm not aware of doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's Truman Show.
Man,
Fuck
I've
it.
had those thoughts.
Yeah, our environment would be one that is right for Truman Show-ness. Trumanity.
True.
It's all a simulation.
Yep.
The world does not need to know what I do when no one's looking.
Oh, God. Dude,
Those
I
long,
think about
slender
that
giraffe
sometimes, and
necks.
I'm like, if I was on the Truman Show, how many times would they have to go to black? Because I'm just jerking it all day.
It's not just jerking it; it's the weird jerking it.
I don't really do any weird jerking it.
Well, not
You're
even.
missing
I've
out.
gotten older. I do
From
it
your
less.
point of view, like who knows?
I just
Yeah.
regular jerk it.
In my early 20s, dude, that jerking got esoteric.
Yeah. See, I don't stick things places. I don't, I just little
I've stuck
hand
a
in
thing or two places.
Andy's dick is not an explorer. Did not go where no dick had gone before.
It's okay that you have a blue collar dick. It's
I
fine.
to- I-
Needed.
That's a perfect way. I've got a
gonna
blue
shame
collar
your dick.
vanilla dick.
It is the backbone of American society. Not everyone can be the evil Knievel of Panasia.
Real salt of the earth here.
Your penis should not be salting the earth.
Too bad. On that note, are we ready to kill it? Yeah. All right. Well, it's been a good one, guys.
Good night.
Educate your mind. Don't let the brain cells die. Come on, it's balcony time.